You know who
anyway.
I think is one of the most evil people on the planet? Is Jack Dorsey. I really do mean it, especially having talked to him a couple years ago, and we've had some chat back and forth on Twitter and Twitter DMs and stuff. I think his whole shtick is doing dramatically evil things and then, putting a layer, covering it up and burying it under some, lie about wanting to be better and do the right thing, and how it's so hard for us, because he's got this statement he just put out. Lydia pulled it up, where he says, "I do not celebrate or feel pride in having to ban real Donald Trump from Twitter. We're trying so hard to build a new system, blah, blah, blah." I don't believe it. I think Jack is completely self-centered. He is completely authoritarian. He's one of the worst possible versions of this idea of "I'm smarter than you and I know it, you poor stupid person."
So you think he's like a modern Robespierre?
No, not necessarily. I mean, Robespierre was psychotic.
He wasn't at first. They called him the uncorruptible.
So
Yes,
you're
but-
saying when Twitter tweeted yesterday that they strongly condemn internet shutdowns that are, quote, hugely harmful because they violate basic human rights and the principles of the hashtag open internet, that they weren't genuine and honest?
This is psychological abuse, where it is as if he is punching you repeatedly in the stomach while saying he's so sorry, but it's your own fault and for your own good. It is psychotic what Jack has consistently done for the past several years, promising roads to redemption and decentralization and blockchain technology. We're going to do all these great things. We're going to help everybody. He is the spokesperson for gaslighting duplicitousness. And that's what he's doing right now. Twitter nuked 70,000 accounts, and they were not QAnon accounts. One of them was Carrie Smith's account, Unsafe Spaces, which was just an intellectual dark web kind of middle-of-the-road, liberal, anti-woke account. There was also some podcasts that were center-left but anti-woke that got banned, and then Jack comes out and says, "Oh, but we're trying so hard." No, what he's doing to you is smacking you across the face, and then he's saying, "It's for your own good. Why do you make me do this to you?" Yeah. And he says it every single time, and you keep going back to him. I am so sick of Twitter. I said it before. I was like, I'm not going to use it, and I started using it again. But I really do mean it. When I said I wasn't going to use Twitter meaningfully anymore, I'm just going to post whatever. I did it. I did. Whether I used to post my videos, I used to post articles, I used to actively engage. Now I've slowed all that down. I'll still post some articles here and there I think are important, but now I've been trolling. It's really what I do. I'll post something like, I tweeted, "If history has taught us anything, it's to always trust the government to let us know about the ongoing legitimacy of all these threats and to give up their power." And I just don't care anymore. Twitter is a trash platform led by extremely wealthy, manipulative authoritarians who think you are all too stupid to run your own government. And he knows it. You know what? He can keep doing this. But I think people realize that he's full of it. That tweet about Uganda coming right after this election, where just a couple months ago, Twitter blocked one of the most consequential stories of this election to protect Joe Biden. The Hunter Biden story was blocked and shut down. The New York Post was suspended. And then Jack is like, "Well, it's a really hard decision. Hack materials." Shut up. I've got active tweets right now that are very serious violations of Twitter's rules that are a threat to me and my family. They will not remove. Why? And Jack knows me, because they are evil people who don't care. They are duplicitous authoritarians. I am sick of Twitter, man. I'm sick of reading about what Jack is lying to about this time. Meanwhile, he's making all this money and he doesn't actually care to help anybody. Oh, but you know what they do? These ultra wealthy people use that extraction of resources. Like everything that's been happening over the past year where they've extracted all of our resources. They love it. And then what do? You get people like Mackenzie Bezos dumping all of it into more manipulative, fundamentalist, leftist dogma. And it's just going to keep going. Now I'll tell you what the solution is. Gab's got it. Gab's got it right. Persuasion. It is about being resourceful, clever, and doing hard work. Gab built their own infrastructure. Try and take them down. They're going to keep doing it. That's what you got to do. The other thing I think is when we talk about politics being, downstream from culture, and you said, how do you solve that? It's easy. Go further upstream. If someone is taking a dump in your water supply and you're like going to get a bucket of water from the river and there's like poop floating in it, you got to go further upstream to get your water.
Yeah, Max Kaiser says whoever has the Bitcoin makes the laws. It was
clever
in relation to who has the money makes the laws, but in the future it's going to be the crypto.
Yeah, there's talk about government regulated, like government coins, like cryptocurrency made by governments. So
USDC.
Well, China just announced that they're working on a global currency to release for everyone out there. So again, as we said, cryptocurrency could be something great, could be something that could be used to enslave a lot of people, to track, trace, and database people in a very easy system. Now, when we look at Twitter's announcement, especially with the QAnon people, they made sure to specifically say not just QAnon people, but QAnon associated content. Very vague, very generalized language, no accountability, no transparency, no court of law, no reason given to individuals. Hey, why were you banned? None of that. And at least, if you're going to do it, at least justify it, at least give some recourse, give some reason, give some explanation. But these people are so emboldened that they're like, we don't even have to tell you why. We're destroying your livelihood. We're destroying your communications. We're destroying your way of life, being able to actually get your ideas out there to the political discourse. We don't have churches anymore. We don't have bars. We don't have any way to communicate and talk to our fellow man except for Twitter. They are the monopoly. They are the highway. They control it. They have a toll booth, and they are family-friendly show. I have other language I want to use here, but I'm just going to stop right here.
Polish.
No, I don't think.
Could I curse in Polish?
I don't think so.
I would love
I think
to.
I think you can actually be a bit more disparaging in Polish because they'd have to be like, can we get someone who knows Polish in here?
You're going to have to translate a whole bunch of... I can't even say it, but
don't go over the top, but say something. Say criticize them in Polish.
Są jebane. Chuje, co nie wiedzą, co się kurwa dzieje w świecie. Sorry.
I heard one word.
Believe that.
One of the few words I know in Polish, I think you said, right?
Yes.
Yes,
it's
you
hard
did.
to control it because it's like whatever.
It's like in what show was it where whenever a lady would get mad, she would start speaking Spanish. She would yell at her husband. You remember that? I don't remember what it is. Whatever.
Also, how they do these mass bannings is quite insidious, extremely insidious, because it shows you how you can't separate the privacy issue from the censorship issue. It's because they know so much about us that they can pinpoint exactly who all the Trump supporters are on the platform. But also think about this, they can also pinpoint who the undecided voters are. So imagine how they're using that information in addition to using the former to ban people.
Yep. I'll tell you something funny. There was, Donald Trump posted to YouTube, and they immediately took it down, and then gave him a strike and suspended him. So I saw people posting about what Trump had posted. And they were saying, someone posted, like, I saw the video, it was crazy. It was Trump saying, like, God calls on you to come and save this country on the 20th. And I was like, what? Did Donald Trump post a video? That's crazy. So I looked for it, couldn't find it. I eventually found a video claiming to be the original video, and that's what it said. It said, this is the video, and it was like, on the 20th, God has given you a calling, and it was like crazy stuff. So I posted it in a group chat with some other reporters and personalities asking if anybody knew what the video was. Some people are saying this is it. And do you know what these other people saw? It just said this link has been removed due to being suspicious. So they couldn't actually, some people could see it, some people couldn't. And then it turns out the rumor is right now, Trump posted a snippet from his speech, his statements he made at the border wall. So I don't know exactly what that video was, but even in private messages, they're banning things. I'll tell you one thing really funny. I often send myself things on Facebook. I'll use it as like a notepad. So if someone sends me a story and I need to keep track of it, or if I'm looking at something to buy, I'll just send it to myself. And I recently was looking at, I sent myself a link to buy, I don't know, it was like a Panini Press or something. And then I went in my messages and I was looking for the link, and then I noticed it said this has been removed or whatever. I sent it to myself. Facebook went into my message to myself as a reminder and removed what I was trying to remind myself of. And I don't even know what it was. It was probably a link to BitChute or something.
It's kind of like we're in the Matrix in the movie. We're on the ship and we're talking to people in the Matrix, and they're like, I'm being censored. This Matrix is censoring me. And you can't be like, go use this other Matrix program in the Matrix because it's all in the Matrix. You have to leave the Matrix. The proprietary software with these algorithms, this proprietary algorithms are tracking you. Yeah. And they're moving you around.
Dude, you know what's so annoying? We turned on the TV a couple nights ago, and there was a commercial. It's my TV, and all we ever watch is like Family Guy, and we got a puppy chow commercial.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
how would they know?
Hold on. I have not posted about the dog. I've not posted anything about dogs. Luke got a dog.
Yeah. I'm exploiting it to the fullest extent on my Instagram on Luke We Are Changing. But
why is it that my account on my TV, when I opened it up, a commercial played for dog
because the TV
food.
heard the dog
and
bark.
I was watching the
dog
TV.
Barking. That must be it.
Yeah.
But so they say that they're not actually spying on audio, and that it's artificial intelligence that knows. Is it possible that the AI is so smart it knew that
it's tracking Luke. It knows that Luke has a dog.
Probably. It's right.
A new puppy.
Also, if you
That's what it. No, you know what? You're completely right. It probably saw that Luke and I are friends on Facebook. That we've actually been in the same place at the same time.
You're on a show together.
And Luke went to a dog place. And and it's not so much about knowing we're on a show. It's about the GPS being identical, and about us being friends, and about Luke posting about dogs.
Well, we went to that puppy store that had that
There it is.
that dog that
There
we
it
were
is.
considering getting, and we never did.
We went to a puppy store, and my phone probably logged the
knew you were there.
location,
And there was a-
and then they put a commercial up for it.
There's a beautiful dog there that we almost got, by the way, but we didn't. But there was also
Couple. A
there,
Labradoodle.
there was messages that I tried to send you regarding defensive measures and defensive stuff that I couldn't send to you. I remember trying to send you like, hey, we should probably get this, and then the link never went through, which just shows you that it's not just censorship, it's also knowing everything about you that should terrify someone, because these companies are getting more and more powerful because data is becoming the new oil. And when we look at a lot of industries, they're absolutely dominated with knowing who a customer is, what they're doing, and with that power, they could do a lot of incredible things. And I remember this even before Donald Trump was on the political scene, that there was mainline data scientific studies talking about how Facebook and Google could rig elections. This was even before Trump. They were talking about how they could just manipulate the algorithm, manipulate the search results, and they could have an effect on elections that could sway it in either direction that they chose it to go to.
The CEO of Reddit said it.
Yeah.
He gave an interview and he's like, "Oh yeah, we could totally swing an election." He's like, "We couldn't get away for it for too long, but we could totally do it."
And there was
And they
discussion
probably
saying,
did. I bet Reddit tried to do that. Google certainly did it.
Yeah, but for a little bit, there was discussion saying, hey, this is too much power. We should regulate this. We should stop it. We should intervene. We should break up the monopolies. But that conversation lasted for about 5 minutes, and then it ended, and no one else even talked about it after those data studies came out.
Because they block it.
Yes.
They're like, "Oh no, people are going to break us up. Quick, dangle keys in front of them on Facebook.
And the
Show them
Matrix
police
is
brutality."
very comfortable. They feed you nice steak that you think tastes good. They want you. They want to keep you inside and make you rich.
So you can exit
I
the
don't know about rich.
You can exit the Matrix, or you can ban the Matrix. So can we talk for a moment about how Twitter somehow managed to make the dictatorial government of Uganda look like the sympathetic party?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point that you bring up here, because the tweet that I referenced was specifically towards an open internet, but just for Uganda, not for anyone else.
Yeah. I mean, the argument I think the Ugandan government is using, which, again, these are brutal dictators, but the argument they're using is, well, we don't want these companies coming and interfering in our election, banning our government ministers from their accounts.
Yep.
And, again, brutal dictatorship. But are they wrong, though? Because tech companies are, I think, this is pretty well known now, they are arms of U.S. influence abroad.
Think about. Oh, no, go finish it.
In fact, one of the probably my favorite quote from the book is from a government insider who told me that before Trump, the State Department and the foreign policy elites saw these tech platforms or social media freedom as a means of achieving regime change abroad by allowing dissidents to speak, by allowing information to get out around the government-approved channels. But as soon as Trump comes along, and Brexit comes along, and populism comes along, suddenly they start to worry, well, our regime might get changed.
Well, it's not that. What we've learned from the statement on Uganda was that they like the idea of using social media to control elections. That's it. It's not inconsistent. They don't want Twitter to be banned because they want to manipulate the Ugandan elections, and they want Twitter to be the monopoly in the United States so they can manipulate elections. It's the same thing.
And the timeline here matters because, correct me if I'm wrong, it was first Ugandan government officials that were banned by Twitter and Facebook. Then they decided to shut down Facebook and Twitter. And now Facebook and Twitter are working with the State Department to bring back social media into Uganda. And then we also have to understand there's a lot of also fingerprints with the State Department working with social media when it comes to the Arab Spring, when it comes to Ukraine, and other very important geopolitical battles that were happening that I would argue the tech oligarchs and State Department were working for the favor of the U.S. in many of those key instances that do deserve to be looked at right now.
So the way the State Department influence works is, they have all these NGOs that they send to countries, and these NGOs are how they do political organization. They also, fund media outlets and so on. And social media allow them to supercharge those efforts inside whichever country they were targeting. That's why they like it.
That's what got me booted from Venezuela. Some Occupy activists on Twitter started tweeting at a bunch of Venezuelan personalities that I worked for USAID and was in Venezuela to subvert and overthrow the revolution. That's what they said, to overthrow the revolution. And I'm literally just some dude who went from Vice. And I chose to. Like, no one at Vice told me to do it. I said, hey, I want to go to Venezuela. And they're like, all right, go for it.
That's an interesting perspective, that if you ban the Matrix, it doesn't necessarily mean you're righteous. Like, evil, can still be chaos and destruction in the real world, in the Matrix world. We're on the ships. You know, there can be pirates and dictators and things like this Ugandan dictator, apparently. I don't know much about him. So the Matrix isn't evil. It's just a powerful tool.
Yeah, that happens to be under the control of America, which is why Ugandan dictators don't like it. Or Venezuelans.
And we say America, but, I mean, what is America at this point?
Corporate
Plutonomy?
Banking billionaire elites.
Yeah, that have like hijacked the U.S. military. It's really not America. They just have control of our military.
I really do think that it's almost like they want to make sure there's a permanent underclass, that there's no upward mobility, like creating a new royalty. They're the elites. They're the ones who get to walk freely in Congress and through the Capitol. They're the ones who get special exemptions from the rules and the law and things like this. And so everything they're doing with destroying the economy, it results in certain jobs certain individuals making more and more money. And it results in the regular working class people being completely destroyed by it. And when the wealth of, say, your average, middle American is destroyed, their chances of moving up and improving their lives becomes zero, basically. But the elites who control assets don't lose that. So think about it this way. If you're rich and you're worried about the economic collapse, it's real easy. You put your money into something. You take a bunch of your liquid, assets. You buy hard assets. You buy property. You buy resources. You buy the means of production. Then the working class people who have a small savings need to buy food. They can't afford to put their money into something safe. So they lose their wealth. They lose their access. They lose control. So it's almost like the bottom's being pulled out, but the rich people have a bar to hang on to, and the people down below don't.
Yep.
They fall down.
Well, they've been doing this. They've been stealing from a lot of people through the process of inflation and deflation. When the market is high, they sell. When the market is low, they obviously buy up a bunch of goods. And we have to understand, a lot of these people, a lot of these kind of, whether it's the Federal Reserve, a lot of the bigger banks, they know what's going to happen ahead of time because they're the ones setting this policy, and they could decide, I'm going to sell it all, I'm going to buy it all. And they've been doing this kind of system ever since we got rid of the gold standard.
But what you need to understand is it's not a conspiracy, as though like a bunch of bankers get together and go, we're going to tank the market. No, what happens is they'll put out their statement saying, here's when we think this will happen, here's what we're going to buy. And then all of the big banks make a massive move, which will drop the values of certain things. And then when people panic sell, because people just do, they buy it up. Case in point, Bitcoin recently fell down to 30. And it was funny. It was at like 31. And a bunch of people I saw, were tweeting at me saying things like, I'm going to sell now and then buy back when it's at the bottom. And then within a few hours, it went right back up to 35. And I was like, well, if you sold, you screwed yourself.
The market cap went from $1 trillion to $840 billion. It lost $160 billion. Don't quote me on the exact numbers. So I think there was a coordinated sell-off of $100 billion that a bunch of people made.
But it wasn't coordinated in the sense that like a bunch of guys got together
and
said,
let's do it. It could have been,
it's
but
not. It happens.
What you say definitely happens. It may have also been coordinated. I don't know. It just seemed very.
What happens is you have an avalanche. You have all of this. It's piling up, and then there are people ready to buy at certain numbers. One person happens to hold a large amount of coins because he's a miner, perhaps, or it's a company. They put it all up for sale at a certain price to make all that money, and then it causes everything to just cascade down.
There's machines that are watching, and they'll trigger sells.
And then what happens is it's human psychology. Regular people who have invested what little they had panic. And then they sell it all, and that's how the wealth gets transferred to the wealthy because people panic. It's like, this is why I love going to casinos. We recently went to a casino and I got, man, it was amazing. I put like $20 down on high card flush and won like $800, and I started tipping like crazy. It was amazing. I don't like playing poker though. You know why? Because I used to have a lot of fun playing poker. I used to play Magic the Gathering. So if you're good at like reading people, then you'd be great at poker. But you're taking money from poor people who don't know what they're doing.
Same way, dude.
Yeah, it's like you make money off the people, not the house. I like playing against the house. I lose. I go to casinos for fun. I don't go there to make money. But I don't like the idea of ripping off the working class people who don't know what they're doing. So I'm always advising people, You need to know what you're doing. You need to get sound advice. Don't get it from me, but just, panic is where they rip you off.
Yeah, and don't listen to the mainstream media that was telling you that Bitcoin's dead, it's over, it's
that
never
was
coming back. And
amazing.
I've been seeing those articles for years now, and I've been kind of, combating it in my own way. But as we said on the show a couple of days ago, again, not financial advice, but it's usually not the best thing to buy high and to sell low. That's what usually the average person does. It's not a good strategy, but when you look at the mainstream media and their talking points, that's what they tell you to do.
I go to 4chan's biz board for my financial advice.
I didn't know that
when
existed.
you see lots of the pink Wojaks where they're all freaking out saying the stonks are going down, that's when you buy.
Stunks. I love this. One article said Bitcoin investors could lose everything. I can't believe. It's so obvious what that was. They were trying to scare new investors into selling everything, and it worked. And then the price dropped. They bought high, and then the price tanked while they panicked, and then the people with access and means bought all of it back up, and now it's going right back up to 40K. I say it happens all the time. So I'm not going to tell you what you should do or give you advice. I'll tell you what I'll do. When I buy Bitcoin, I just sit on it. You're supposed to hold on for dear life. But anyway, I digress. We got into the Bitcoin conversation again just because it's been so prevalent. The reality is, consistently, those with lots of money can sit on it and protect it and use it to grow their resources and control and power. And everything we're seeing with the lockdowns and everything we're seeing with these bailouts, all it does is strip what little the working class have. And you know what the problem is? Many of these people are cheering for it and clapping, thunderous applause. The wealthy are like, we want to steal all your money, and they go, yay! And then they do.
When you say go upstream from money, if you really want to solve,
You mean from culture?
Well, you want to go upstream from culture, and I was like, well, the rich people are what are controlling culture. Upstream from that, it led me to crypto. But what's above that? Is it steel mills and
it's producing culture.
iron mines and weapons?
It's producing culture.
But what does that mean?
So if there's a stream of cultural issues that ends with a political policy, and someone is throwing garbage in the river, then produce culture above them.
It's like the strongest gorilla is the one who dictates the culture of the tribe. And
I mean, kind of, I guess. I'm just saying.
that's how it worked back in the day.
People need to be persuasive and resourceful. You need to have access and means and confidence. And you do that by inspiring and building culture, by teaching people to do things that are fun. But I'll tell you what really drives one of the things that really drives people is being cheered on by others. It feels good when you have a crowd of people clapping for you. People love it. It's why skateboarding is so great. You go to a skate park, and you don't got to be the best skateboarder in the world. But if people see you, maybe you've only been skateboarding for a few months, you finally learned how to kickflip, and you're really bad at it. Kickflip is like a basic trick for those who don't know. You could be at a park. It's clear that you're not that good, and you're trying as hard as you can to land this kickflip. When you finally do, everyone will cheer and clap for you. It's not about you being the best. It's about you overcoming yourself and doing better every day. But then if you are really, really good, you go there, when you skate and you do well, people cheer and clap for you. It's a very positive environment. Some kids can be nasty. That's what we need. We need people who oppose the wokeness and the creepy, cancel culture stuff to mock it and make it desirable for people to mock it, to belittle it, to have a good time. This is why comedy is so powerful. So we need more comedians like Ryan Long, for instance, who routinely mocks not just the left, but also the right on occasion, making it fun to say the extremism is stupid. To make it a point that you will be cheered for and celebrated and successful if you tell the crazy people to stop, or you point out their absurdities.
And being an artist in general, I think, is a great way to control the culture. But then the rich people are going to come to you once you succeed, and they're going to try and buy you out.
And it works?
Well, not always, but it's very tempting.
I don't know what you do with all that money some of these people get. Some of these big brands and the sponsorships they've done. I don't want to name anybody, but there's YouTubers who have endorsed political candidates who are not political. So it's look, I do news, commentary, and politics. So for me, saying who I'm going to vote for, I think is on me. But there are non-political YouTubers who are I'm going to vote for Hillary Clinton or whatever. And it's now why are you doing that? There's no incentive for you to turn off Minecraft and start talking about Hillary Clinton. That makes no sense. So that to me sounds like it was a paid endorsement or something. And that's when you start getting into dangerous territory. But it is what it is. People are going to take sponsorships for whatever, and they're not going to think twice about it.
Well, it's also quite profitable. You want to win if you're not that political, maybe you just want to win the favor of the elites at YouTube or at these entertainment companies, because you know the way to do that is the virtue signal.
Yep. Yeah. I know that it's deep seated in YouTube and Google, this leftist and this woke stuff, but I do think that I think most people don't like it. I really, really believe that's true. The problem is I think they're all just terrified and they're cowards. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be mean, but there's somebody who's willing to say, I'll say what I want when I want. And it tends to be Trump supporters are all getting banned because they'll just say what they want. They don't care. And the people on the left, traditional liberals, they tell me behind the scenes all the time. I have business calls with people who work for companies peripheral to Google or within Google, and they're like, "We love your stuff, man. We completely agree about this. We're fans of like George Carlin and Chappelle, but oh man, I don't know, I lose my job." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're a coward, bro."
I think you're right that it stems from fear, like whether they're afraid because they don't understand the way that technology works. So the unknown creates like a fear of the unknown, so they just go along with it, or they're afraid, or they're more viscerally afraid of actually being banned themselves. But I think the fear of not understanding how politics works, how laws are written, how we should teach kids how to write laws.
I don't think they care about that though. I think the concern is, are the people going to be mean to me?
It's just very disempowering to not know, to not understand how the power structure works.
I think they just don't want to be fired. They don't want to be mobbed by the social justice warriors.
Well, they know that if they get fired for being anti-woke, they're not going to get a job ever again.
Indeed.
So what? Grow up.
The biggest polling error I agree with that. They should grow up. I mean, people endured a lot worse.
Go work for Veritas or Breitbart. Blow the whistle on this stuff.
For political activities. But the biggest polling error by far in the 2020 election was the white middle class, not the white working class. They actually predicted the white working class vote pretty well, the pollsters, but they missed the white middle class vote by, I think it was about over 20-point polling error.
Really?
Yes, it was massive. It was the biggest
polling error. What
error.
did they expect, and what was the reality?
They were expecting to be split pretty evenly between Biden and Trump. In fact, it was like over 20 points in favor of Trump from white middle class voters. Was it the middle? No, I think it was actually employment. So don't quote me on that. It was employment. Are they in white-collar jobs rather than in blue-collar jobs?
Oh, okay, right on.
And that makes perfect sense to me, because the people in white-collar jobs are most afraid of the wokeness.
Yeah, because they'll. It's not just that they will take your job from you. It's that they will salt the earth to make sure you could never have a job again, and that's what people are afraid of. And really, you know what, man? Whatever. Look, I guess when you're accustomed to a certain comforts, it's really easy to scare people into losing all of it. So they grow up and they have this middle class life and they get a white collar job and they got their 401k and they get married and they have kids and they're like, heaven forbid I have to actually live like humans lived 100 years ago. It's scary. I get it. You don't know how to survive on your own anymore. You don't know how to grow your own food or hunt or anything like that. And it's not necessarily something we should be doing. We have this, wonderful technology and access. But the worst case scenario for getting fired from a job for standing up for this is not going to hunt and becoming a wild man with your wild family. It's literally just getting a crummier job or something, or, I don't know, going and working for a company that will let you work for them. But too many people are just scared. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., so come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.